Hey guys, today what we're going to do is look at graphing with standard form. So what's the point of AX plus BY equals C? There's one and only one point why we use it, and it's actually to get two coordinate points on the graph. These two specific points are your X and Y intercept. So if this is your graph, what we're trying to do is figure out 2 points. These 2 points are always going to be our our y-intercept and our x-intercept, because with those 2 points we can create a nice pretty line connecting the two, looking something like this. That's the whole point of standard form, and it's to find the x and y intercepts. So if we were to look at this is how we do it. We need to be able to find our x and y intercept, and if you guys remember, an x-intercept, so anything on this x-axis, is when our y value is 0, we're trying to figure out that number for x. And vice versa, for a y-intercept, whenever your x value is 0, we want to figure out what that y value is. So what does that look like mathematically? I'm going to use this formula up here, I'm going to use this equation up here, and I'm going to solve it twice. Once for an x-intercept and once for a y-intercept. So in my y-intercept, if I look at it, it says I'm going to plug in 0 for y. That's going to look like 5x minus. Now instead of y, we are going to substitute the value 0. And we're going to have equals negative 5. Now that minus 0 essentially goes away, and I'm left with 5x is equal to negative 5. And I'm going to divide both sides by 5 to get x is equal to negative 1. So what does that mean? It means I have an x-intercept of negative 1 because when I plugged in 0, I solved for it and got that. So now in blue, we're going to solve for the y-intercept. It's very similar. We're going to look at the same equation, but instead of plugging in 0 for y, on a y-intercept, my x value is 0, so in the equation, I'm going to plug in 0. So 5 times 0 minus y is equal to negative 5. Now, this will give me 0 minus y, but I can essentially just ignore it because I'm going to be left with negative y is equal to negative 5. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 to get y is equal to negative 5, which means my y-intercept is 0, negative 5. So now I can plug in my two most important points. On my x-intercept, it is negative 1, 0, and I can plot the point right there. On my next one, it is 0, negative 5. It tells me to go down right here. Now that I have the x and y intercept, I can graph my 2 points. So let's go ahead and graph them right here. And my line would look something like this. And as you can see, it goes through my 2 points of my x and my y intercept. All right, so let's go and look at this next one. Same idea. I'm going to go ahead and find my x and y intercept. To find my x-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So I'm going to do that first. 2x minus 4 times 0 is equal to negative 12. Negative 4 times 0 is 0, and 2x minus 0 is just 2x. So I'm going to be left with 2x is equal to negative 12. And I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get an answer of x equals negative 6. So for my x-intercept, I have a value of negative 6, 0. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing in red. I'm going to find the y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. So I'm going to have 2 times 0, because that's what the y-intercept would be for x. X would be 0, so let's figure out what y is. So 2 times 0 minus 4y is equal to 12. And as you guys might start to see a pattern, I don't even need to solve for this. It basically just disappears, and I'm left with negative 4y is equal to 12. And when I divide both sides by negative 4, I'm going to get an answer of y equals negative 3. So here my y-intercept is 0, negative 3. Now I can go ahead and plot these 2 points of negative 6, 0, which would be right here, my x-intercept, and my y-intercept would be negative 3, 0, 0, negative 3, and that's my y-intercept. So now I can go ahead and graph these 2 points by just connecting these 2 dots like this. And There's nothing more to do it. You don't need to find the slope. You don't need the rise of a run. You are done right here. So let's go ahead and look at a word problem here. It says Mr. Rooney is writing a quiz that has multiple choice problems. Multiple choice questions, a short answer question, and a multiple choice. The entire quiz is worth 40 points, and he wants the multiple choice questions to be 2 points, and he wants the short answers to be 4 points. If X represents the multiple choice questions and Y represents the short answer questions, write an equation in standard form that describes it. So I have two types of questions. I have multiple choice, and they said I want you to use X for multiple choice. So each multiple choice question is 2 points per 2 points per multiple choice questions and 4 points per short answer questions. And when I add them together, I'm going to have a total of 40 points. And now what it wants us to do is graph that. So if we were to graph our answer on a coordinate plane, we can find our x and our y axis. So I had 2x plus 4y is equal to 40. So if I only want multiple choice questions and I don't want to have any free answer questions, I will be left with 2x equals 40. And when I divide both sides by 2, that will tell me I will have a total of 20 multiple choice questions. So where it says number of multiple choice questions, I could just put a dot right here for 20. And then if it says I have 2 points per multiple choice question, and I want to answer, I want to have 0 of those on my test, so I only want to have free response questions, the short answers. How many could I have? Well, this would, I wouldn't even look at that because I don't have any. And I would have 4y equals 40. Divide both sides by 4 to get y equals 10. So that means I would have the coordinate point of 0, 10 for my other point right here. So what I can do then is I can connect my dots, but the thing is I don't want a discrete line. I don't want a continuous line. I want a discrete line. So where this line crosses possible solutions, these would be all my possible answers. It's where the line hits the hash mark, the X and the Y. That is where my answers would be. So if I look at this completed graph, this tells me all possible scenarios. So this could be 0 multiple choice, 10 free answers. This would be 3 multiple choice, and that is that 9 free answers, so on and so forth. 1, 2. This would be 2, 9. For instance, this one would be 10, 5. And these are just illustrating all the possible solutions. So if Mr. Rooney decided to have only multiple choice questions on the quiz, how many questions can he have? So if it's only multiple choice, he could have 20 because it would be 0 free answers and 20 multiple choice. So he could have 20 multiple choice. If Mr. Rooney decided to have only short answers, that would be this point right here, 0 multiple choice and only short answers, he could have 10. So I missed this on part C. How is this shown on the graph? It is your x-intercept. And here it is 10 short answers. And how is answers? And how is that shown on our graph? That is our y-intercept. All right. So is it realistic to have 9 multiple choice questions on the quiz? So here are my multiple choice. Is it possible to have 9? So if this is 10, this would be 9. And if we go up, we notice it's not possible because, so no, it's not. Now, because it's a discrete graph, you can't have half a question. You can't have half a multiple choice question. So in this instance, you can't have half a short answer question. So no, because you can't have half a short answer question. And if you notice, that would be shown right here. So if you have 9, this is where the line would be. We scroll over. It's saying we'd have about like 5.5 short answer questions. And obviously that's not possible. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the next question. So convert your equation from part A to slope-intercept form. State the m and the b value. So our equation was 2x plus 4y is equal to 40. And what we want to do is be able to get y by itself. So the first thing we would do is minus 2x from both sides to get 4y is equal to negative 2x plus 40. I'm then going to divide each and every term by 4. This would give me y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 10. So where it says state the slope, this is my slope right here. It's negative 1/2, which means I go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And this is my y-intercept. Does the equation you wrote in the slope-intercept form represent the same equation written in standard form? And it is yes, because if we look at this, my table, the equation is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 10. Remember, this is my y-intercept. If I go here, 10 is my y-intercept. It's saying I have a slope of negative 1/2. If I look, I went down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. I'm just building my steps, and it has a rate of change of negative 1/2, which is my slope. So the answer is yes. And you can just write the explanation that I just showed you guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. Email me or your teacher. I hope you guys have a great night.